Hey everybody, it's Matthew here, and I'm so glad you're back for more. I know it's a bit boring being locked inside all day.
I never thought being lazy would be quite so boring.
But on the bright side, it's given me a lot of time to think about the politics in our country, and specifically the elections for the US Senate that will be happening this fall. I know it's hard to believe, but it's still an election year, and there are other news stories than the coronavirus. The Senate's going to be incredibly important for the next few years, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to discuss the Democrats' path to a Senate majority in 2020. Let's start in Alabama, where Doug Jones, a Democrat, will be running for a second term. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he beat child molester and Alabama Supreme Court Justice Roy Moore in a crucial special election just a few years ago. Unfortunately, Jones has probably the toughest go of things of any Senate candidate up for election this fall, because Alabama is just simply so red.
Like Donald Trump won it by 30 points, red.
So sadly, we can pretty much expect the state to flip Republican. Assuming Jones loses, and he probably will, Democrats need to flip 4 Republican states to get to that magic number 50, which could become 51 if Trump wins re-election. Their best shot is in Colorado, where one-term Senator Cory Gardner is running for his political life. In the past, Colorado's been a swing state, but these days it leans Democratic, and Gardner isn't popular there. On top of that, the Democratic nominee looks likely to be John Hickenlooper, who served 2 terms as Colorado's governor from 2011 to 2019. Cory Gardner seems to have all but acknowledged that he'll be going down in November, so I'm going to say that this seat currently leans in favor of the Dems. Now, let's head just a tad southwest to Arizona, where Senator Martha McSally is fighting to remain in the Senate. Arizona is a purple state, but there's just one problem here. McSally already lost a Senate race to Kyrsten Sinema just 2 years ago. However, just a few weeks after losing, she got appointed to fill John McCain's vacant Senate seat, and now she's trying to make a second run for the Senate in a mere 2 years. Her opponent, however, is out of this world. Literally. Her opponent is Mark Kelly, a former astronaut and the wife of Gabby Giffords, who survived a shooting a few years ago. Kelly has been raising astronomical amounts of money, more than any candidate running in either seat for any party. He's also a former registered independent in a fiercely independent state. My prediction here is that Kelly wins this seat by a couple points, since most polls have him up over McSally. Maine is bound to get a lot of attention this time around. Senator Susan Collins was once seen as a moderate with bipartisan support, but her votes in favor of Trump's tax cuts and Brett Kavanaugh ruined her credibility with many of Maine's Democrats and independents. Not only is Maine a blue state that Hillary Clinton carried in 2016, but Collins is getting lapped in fundraising and has to deal with the constant headlines coming out of the White House that have weighed down her independent brand. Sarah Gideon, her opponent, is Maine's Speaker of the House of Representatives, and is seen as one of the Democrats' strongest recruits. I think neither party is favored here, simply because Collins has been so popular for so long. But in short, Maine is a toss-up. Finally, we have North Carolina, where Senator Thom Tillis is fending off a tough fight from Cal Cunningham. Cunningham used to be a state senator in North Carolina, but chose to retire in 2002 and serve his country in uniform overseas. Now he's making a return to political life, threatening Tillis's prospects for a second term. If Tillis is saved by anything, it's that North Carolina leans slightly to the Republicans. That's why this race will probably be the most competitive one of 2020. Other seats could become competitive depending on how things play out. Democrats are considering targeting Montana, Republicans have their eye on Michigan, but both incumbents there are relatively popular, and it will remain to be seen if either of them can be flipped. Just remember, the Senate is equally as important as the presidency, so please get out and vote blue down ballot as well. What do you guys think of the Democrats' chances next November? Let me know down below. See you next week.